What is going on, y'all? Goofy Rexy here, and hope everybody is doing well. And wanted to make an updated video on the channel. So quite a while ago, back in October of 2020, we made a video, most popular video on the channel here, called Top 5 Beginner Mistakes. Pretty much basically in that video, I talked about the mistakes that I've made on my roster and mistakes that I've seen others make, and pretty much basically trying to coach you in a way to not go about making those same mistakes. Now, I will say this, a lot of that information was good back then, but not all of it is very good right now. And one of those main things that's probably not good right now is this, what I said right here, which is, hey, don't invest into crap bad characters. And back then, Nebula was a crap bad character, but of course, right now, Nebula is actually a pretty good, damn good character investment, especially as a early player in this game or beginner player in this game. So we're gonna be doing an updated video here today, go through some different mistakes. Some of the information is probably gonna be repeated information, but there are also some new concepts that I'm gonna be introducing as well. I will say this, I am going to stay away from talking about specific characters that you should invest into, because I do think that that can change quite a bit. And I do want to be mindful of the fact that there are players that probably will watch this video 6 months from now, 4 months from now, that will be looking at this video and want to gather some information here. So I'm going to give more conceptualized ideas as to what you should do and mistakes that you should avoid, instead of talking about specific characters. Also, I am going to try to stay away from certain Marvel Strike Force jargon. It's going to be hard because it's so inundated, right? It's in my brain, right? But I'm going to try to stay away from some Marvel Strike Force jargon that we're probably all used to, because I do want to be cognizant of the fact that somebody may also watch this video that is picking up the game like today, right? So I want to try to stay away from that as well. So let's dive into the first one. This is actually going to be a repeated one from the previous time when we talked about this, and it's going to be the same, man. Not working on too many characters. The first mistake that I really see that a lot of players do make is that they right in the very beginning, they try to work on every character that they get, right? So you unlock Elektra, there's Crossbones, there's all these other characters that you kind of get, right? Spider-Man, like there's a bunch of different characters that you get right out of the gate. And the idea here is that you can kind of get into the mindset of, hey, I unlock every character and I need to invest into every character. I think that can definitely be something that's crippling for you. You'll start to realize that if you do that you're kind of going to be running out of gold. You're going to be running out of things like this that are called training mats. You have you're gonna run a training mats, right? You're kind of just gonna be overutilizing those resources, and you want to make sure that you're effectively using those resources in a way that is going to benefit your roster, and investing into characters that can get certain game modes done for you on an efficient basis. I hope I said that right. But how do you figure out how to prioritize your planning and who you invest into? What are the most important areas in the game that you should be focusing on? So we're going to talk about that. So let's talk about prioritizing, right? So I think for you as a beginner player, if you are sort of trying to figure out, hey, what areas should I be focusing down on? What's most important for me right now? I would say arena is very important. Your raid is very important, like your main raid that you're doing, which most likely for you is going to be an Ultimus raid. And then your campaigns, like campaigns are incredibly important, right? So let's talk about why. So for arena is going to be a way where you can get rewards like cores. Cores are very important for campaign energy refreshes. Cores are important for whenever there's new characters that are released through event campaigns. There are certain characters that are released through event campaigns throughout the game. You'll see that a little bit later on if you haven't seen it already. So you want to be able to get your cores. You're also getting arena credits as well. This is primarily the only way that you can get arena credits, by doing arena attacks. So you want to be able to do these on a consistent basis. Want to be able to climb your ranks, because the higher you go in the rankings, the more cores that you can get at payout, and of course the more arena credits that you can get on payout as well. So that is one of the priority places where I definitely would invest into characters that are going to be good for arena. Then I would also focus on raids. So rate your main raid, right? So there are two different types of raid. There's your main Ultimus or Doom raid. I'm doing Doom raids because I'm more end game player right now. But for you, you're most likely going to be doing Ultimus raids, and then one of the Greek raids, so which could be alpha raids, beta raids, or gamma raids. There's 3 type of Greek raids. I wouldn't focus on any team specifically for your Greek raids. They just require a lot of different sort of traits and the characters, so I wouldn't focus on that. But for your main raid team, you can focus on one main raid team. I would focus on characters that are going to be efficient here for your raid. By the way, I want to say this, that your arena team and your raid team can probably overlap, so just think about that too as well when you're considering your arena and your raid team. Like I said, I'm talking about conceptual. I'm not going to talk about the specific teams that we can discuss here in a different video. But yeah, focus on your raid team that can get you through some raid content here, because you're going to want to make sure that you're getting valuable resources that you can get out of raids. You're going to have ability materials. There's some gold that you can get. So there's a lot of resources that you're going to need for your characters through raids. So you want to focus on a raid team. And then the next area I think is also very important is your campaign. So you're going to have your heroes campaign, you're going to have your villains campaign, you're going to have your Nexus campaign, later on your cosmic, your mystic campaigns, and then later on as you go into the game, you're going to get like your Doom campaign, your ISO campaign, stuff like that as well. So you want to focus on characters that can get you through these campaigns, because through these campaigns, you're going to be able to, once as you 3-star them, you 3-star the nodes, you're going to be able to farm character shards, you're going to be able to farm energy, and you also have daily objectives that are tied towards farms as well. So heroes farm and villains farm and overall campaign farms. So you want to be able to get through the campaign so that you can efficiently farm these different sort of campaign nodes. So that's my main thing is don't work on too many characters. Have a specific plan in place since you're working on characters specifically for certain areas, arena, raid, your main raid, and then your campaigns. And then there's other things that as you continue to progress through your roster, like your challenges are also important. So you're going to want to see what characters you need for different challenges here, and then Dark Dimension, and then later on War. Those are things that you're going to focus on a little bit later on. But for you as a beginner player, I would say primarily focus on your arena, your main raid, and then your campaign, and also understand that your arena, your raid team can probably overlap too in the beginning part of the game. So just also think about that as well. All right, so next on the agenda for me are resources. How do you use your resources wisely? I've seen a lot of players here who don't officially use resources. They get backed up, they don't have enough, an event rolls around, they don't have the resources to use for it. So pretty much basically I'm going to talk about this section here is to make sure not to make the mistake of not using your resources wisely. Now I'm going to talk about some specific ones here. The first one I'm going to talk about are your power cores, and your power cores are these right here. Your this little purple core-ish looking cylinder looking thing here. That's a very important resource in this game. We talked about it earlier where you can get power cores by doing your attacks in arena. You can also get power cores through some daily milestones as well, by using your campaign energy, so things like that, and using some of your gold too. So there are ways for you to be able to get power cores in this game, but there are a resource that you got to be very careful with how you use it. And I typically tend to see players use power cores to do things like they'll come to their main store and then they'll look at an orb and it will say premium orb, and then they'll spend 450 cores on it, or they'll see a character orb and they'll spend 675 cores on that. No, that's a mistake in my opinion. I would definitely, the only thing that I would use my cores for are campaign energy refreshes, which are these right over here, right? So using your campaign energy using your cores to refresh your campaign energy so that you can do more farming, or even later on your event, your ISO campaign energy. That's a little bit later on. You won't unlock ISOs until level 55, and even then you may not still want to use your core refreshes for that because you may not have enough. It depends on what your allotment is. If you're doing well in arena, you can probably spare some extra cores here, but primarily want to only use your cores for campaign energy refreshes or your events, so the characters in the game that get released through event campaigns. You can also use, I would also recommend using your cores for event campaign energy refreshes as well. I just find that it's just really expensive to use it in other ways. You're going to kind of deplete them way too fast. So in my opinion, I will kind of pause a little bit there and only use it for your core energy refreshes. I would also say this too as well. So as you can see right now, when I click on my campaign energy, it's giving me the option to spending 100 cores, to refresh my campaign energy. Once you get, I would only do the 50 core refreshes. Do not do the hundreds. The hundreds are way too expensive. I would kind of go away from that. There are times and there are moments, right, where you may want to you may use the 100 core refreshes if you're targeting getting a legendary character and they're going to come very soon, or their legendary event is going to end soon. So maybe you want to try to use some extra core refreshes for it. But overall, in my opinion, I would only use the 50s. I would not use the 100s. Once you get to 100, stop, and then divert from there. So that's what cores. Only use your cores for your campaign energy refreshes, your event campaign energy refreshes, and only use the 50 core refreshes. Don't use the 100s. That would be a big recommendation for me. There are also some other credits too. So of course you have your raid credits. We can talk about that a little bit later in a separate video. You have your blitz credits. But what I usually do see sometimes too is with war credits. So war store, I think you get access to this at level 50, might be 55 or 60. I don't specifically remember exactly when you get access to this, but there you will start to get things like war credits, and you'll get access to the war store. And in the war store, there are these nice little pieces that you're probably going to look at and say, hey, I need some blue gear, I need some purple gear, right? You have started, I wouldn't use it for any of these items. Later on, you probably will use it for some orange gear and probably some augmented gear, right? Some teal gear that you need. But for you as a beginner player, I would only focus on getting character shards. I wouldn't use it for any sort of gear. I'll use it for character shards, and I'll use it for characters that you need to unlock other legendary characters. Like for instance, Longshot. Longshot is a character that you can use to unlock Adam Warlock. There's Maria Hill that's in the store that you can use to unlock and Omega Red. So that's what I would focus on. I would focus on getting character shards. I would not focus on any sort of gear as of yet. Definitely would never use it for purple gear or ever use it for blue gear. In my opinion, that's just a waste of your resources. I would hold off on that. Later on, you will want to use it for orange gear, and probably not necessarily even for orange gear now because teal gear is here. Maybe you'll probably want to use it for some teal gear later, but I would only use it for character shards. The other portion too is in the elite store, where you can spend promo credits, and then where you can also get elite open up other red star orbs. Personally, so in this game let's just jump over to it. So in the main store, you have your red star orbs. Red stars, you can open up those orbs, and that will give you red stars on your characters. Red stars will give your characters higher power. It is RNG based though, so you can't guarantee when you open up an orb who those red stars are going to go to. But as you open up these red star orbs, you get elite credits, and then those elite credits are transferred over here into the store. And you open up enough basic red star orbs, you can get enough elite credits to open up elite 4-star orbs. You open up elite 4-star orbs, you can get enough credits to open up elite 5s. Elite 5s, you can get enough. If you open up enough elite 5s, you can get enough credits to open up elite 6. So on. It goes all the way up to elite 7. But what you also have as well is you have this tab over on the right that says that you can use your elite credits and then convert them over to promotional credits. I would never do that. That's a mistake. That's something that I did like way in the beginning of the game. I would press this button and then use that as promo credits. Don't do that, man. You're going to feel really bad about it later on. Your best bet is to let these build up so that you can open up elite 4-star orbs so that you can get higher red stars on your characters. Not press this button here, because that's ultimately it's just going to be a feel bad, and the conversion, what you're getting from it is just not very good in my opinion. So yeah, just want to talk about those specific resources there in the store, your cores, your war credits. And also I want to say this, it's important to have a budget when it comes to your other resources. So a budget as to how much gold you're willing to spend per day so that you're not running out of gold. Right now at endgame, I spend 1.2 to 1.5 million gold per day, because I know that on average, I'm getting that back per day, right? So you figure out what you are getting on an average basis per day, and then sort of budget out so that you're not overspending your gold as well. That is one way that you can make your gold last for you a little bit more. So that's pretty much basically it that I wanted to talk about here on resource management. Now, the next thing I wanted to discuss here are legendaries. So in the last video, I talked about how it's important for you to farm and get legendaries. The legendaries are the most important characters in this game. That's not entirely true anymore. I don't think you need to focus on legendaries not completely. There are some legendary characters that are important to get, But to you as a beginner player, man, you're not getting some of these legendary characters. They're like late game legendaries, right? They're hard for some late game players to get, right? So that's kind of challenging. But the top tier legendaries in this game, Doc Ock, Jubilee, Adam Warlock, Omega Red, and you can make a case for some other legendary characters like Phoenix, Ebony Maw. Nick Fury is important because you need Nick Fury to unlock Omega Red. Actually, you need Black Bolt to unlock Ebony Maw as well. But Ebony Maw, they're kind of like in the B tier section of legendaries, like the S tier section of I probably did the tiers on, but the high tier, top tier legendaries are Doc Ock, Jubilee, Adam Warlock, and then Omega Red. But I mean, I talked about how you should focus on getting legendary characters, and I see this is a mistake now, because if you're farming to get Magneto, right? If you're farming X-Men characters to get Magneto, if you're farming Shield characters to get Iron Man, if you're farming Guardians and Ravagers to get Star-Lord, you're kind of wasting your time, right? I feel like that's really ultimately a waste of time. I don't think you need to necessarily do that anymore. I would focus on getting characters that you need for some of these top tier legendaries, understanding that it's going to take you a while for you to be able to get them. I understand that completely. Listen, I get it. But also at the same time, it's a good way for you not to overinvest time or spend too much time on trying to get some of these older legendary characters that may not have that much impact on your roster anymore. I also would want to point in here too, Shuri is also kind of an important legendary because she has a flash event called Chaos Theory, and Chaos Theory you can get promotion credits. So Shuri actually is kind of important. There are some infographics out there as well that will talk about what characters you need to farm in order for you to be able to unlock the legendary characters. There's some in my Discord. So check out my Discord link down below. And there's some also on the MSF Discord as well that will show you some infographics as to characters that you need to be able to unlock these specific legendaries in the game. But pretty much I wanted to put this tidbit in here. You don't need to focus down on all the legendaries. There are only some of the legendaries that are actually important, and in fairness, like some of the legendaries that are in this game, there's better characters than the legendaries in this game as well. So if you get some of those characters, then you may not need some of these legendaries, although some of these legendaries do become quite important as you go through content in the game. But I just wanted to put a tidbit in here. You don't need to focus down on them. You don't need to go all crazy. Focus on trying to get the top tier legendaries that you need to be able to get content done, and that's pretty much basically it. So I'm gonna leave that there. The next thing I wanted to talk about, we talked about this in the last video too as well, but I'm going to expand upon a few things here in this one, and it's all about getting into a good alliance. It is so imperative for you to be able to get into a good alliance, because getting into a good alliance is going to help you to get the resources that you need in order for you to be able to upgrade your character. So ability materials, you could get gear orbs or raid gear orbs. So I'll show you what some of these raid gear orbs look like. So things like your purple gear raid orb, your blue gear raid orb, which I don't use a lot anymore because I'm at endgame. With purple gear raid orbs, later on you're going to be able to get orange gear raid orbs, orange elite orbs, teal gear raid orbs. So, and then of course you have these alpha raid, the beta raid orbs that can land character shards and other gear resources that you need as well. So it's really important for you to get into an alliance that is pushing content every day. So doing their raids on a daily basis, right? Not taking a day off. That's doing it's at least shooting for 60%. Ideally, want to at least to be able to get 30%, right? But shooting. Then again, I want to digress and say this too. I realize that I'm also probably talking to players. There's some players who are probably competitive or casual, right? So you also want to find an alliance that suits your play style, right? Like, let's talk about that too. Like, I know I'm talking from a competitive perspective, right? Like, I want an alliance that's at least hitting 60 to 100%. I want 100% in Greek raids, and I want 60% in my Doom raids, right? Or my Ultimus raids. Like, yeah, cool. But also, you might be a casual player, and that might fit your needs a little bit more. But ultimately, you want to be an alliance that's going to be able to get you the resources that you need so that you can upgrade your characters. I also want to caution against this too, that if you get into an alliance that's too big for you, or an alliance that's way too advanced for where you are in the game, you may be missing out on some previous resources that you need. So for instance, if I am a player and I need T2s, like T2 ability materials, if I need those pieces, but the alliance that I joined is now doing U7, Let's say that right now. So if I need two T2 ability materials, right? And I join an alliance that's doing U7, I'm no longer getting those T2 ability materials that I need. So hey, I'm getting great T3s, I'm getting great T4s, but I'm not getting enough T2s, so I can't even use my T3s or T4s because I have my character still needs to be maxed out on T2s before I can go to T3s, right? So you kind of want to be caught. You want to think about that as well too, that making sure that you're not getting into an alliance. You want to get into an alliance that has some balance, that probably is around the same level that you are, but is also still at the same time play at the same competitive level that you want to play at, so that you can get the resources that you need. But it's really important that you get into a good alliance. If there's no coordination in the alliance, where you don't know what you're doing, it's probably not going to be a great alliance for you. You're going to want to get into an alliance that at least has some sort of structure, so that you know exactly what you need to do every day, so that you guys are communicating effectively, efficiently. You're going to be a well-oiled machine there, even if you're not aggressively competitive. That's one of the things that I would recommend also. So get into a good alliance. You need the rage. You're going to need war later on, credits as well. So you want to get into an alliance that is also doing some of those things for you too as well. All right, what else can we talk about here? I want to talk about this. Be flexible. Understand that there are going to be some times where you're going to need to know when to pivot, right? One of the reasons why I didn't talk about specific characters in this game that you should invest into is because, like I said, there could be somebody watching this video 6 months from now. I don't want to mention specific characters because then it might not be relevant to you when you watch this video. But so one of the things I will say is that it's important, and I think very imperative, that you know when it's time to let go of investment on a character, or know when it's time to pivot. If you're working on a character and hey, that character is now out of the meta, they're just not the best character available to you, and you can get that new character, then maybe you just stop it. You got to know when to pivot. You got to know when it's time to let go, time to kind of move on and start doing something else, start working on another character. I think it's incredibly important that you do that. A perfect example for me is that I was currently working on, there's a new team. Now this is endgame stuff I'm talking about here, but just to give you an example, so the Symbiote team is a team that I was working on to try to do my Doom raid for the bio section in those Doom raids. I was bringing them all the way up to level 85. I found out that there's the new Web Warriors team that's now into the game. They're a better team. Hey, I love my Symbiotes. They're my favorite team in the game, but I stopped. I got them to 83. It sucks that I brought them all the way up that far, right? They're still doing the content currently right now, but because they're not the future of that content for me, I have now pivoted and I'm starting to work. No, I don't have them. All the characters aren't released in the game yet, and I don't have them all built up, but I've started to work on Ghost Spider. I just got her to 65 and 12. I'm working on farming her ISOs right now. So for me personally, you just got to know, my recommendation to you is just knowing when to pivot, knowing when to just say, you know what, we're going to leave this ship alone. We're going to go to the next one. This is not working out. Just knowing when to pivot, I think is a big deal to know as well. Another thing also, when it comes to your stores, you are going to, one of the mistakes that I see a lot of players make is that they typically tend not to. So there are hero uniques in the store. There's orange gear. There's bio gear. There's orange gear. There's teal gear. You have what's called hero uniques that your characters will need in order for them to be able to get upgraded to gear tier 13, gear tier 14, gear tier 16. I recommend that as soon as you start seeing pretty much basically any of these hero uniques like Astral Energy, look at MSF.gg, look at other infographics that will talk about superior uniques that you need for your characters. I recommend starting to grab these from the very beginning. I also would say this: don't shun away from when you get to the point where you can start getting these orange elite orbs. Don't shy away from being able to open up those orange elite orbs. They can sometimes drop those hero uniques as well. This is more of like an honorable mention. This is something that's a little bit later on, so I'm just kind of honorably mentioning this. We could talk about that and dive into that a little bit later on. But I think that's pretty much it for me. I think the last thing that I would say, man, one of the mistakes that I see a lot of players make is to just work on the meta. I know it's kind of like contradictory, right? I just talked about only prioritizing working on characters that are going to be good for XYZ content, but I do think that this last bit is incredibly important too. It's that you need to not, in order for you to be able to enjoy and have fun in this game, working on the meta all the time can be really disheartening, because sometimes you can't get the characters, sometimes you don't get the gear that you need for those characters. The last thing that I want to mention is really sometimes having some passion projects, right? Miss Marvel's not a great character. She's a good character, but she's not a great character that you want to bring up to gear tier 14. But you know what? I'm going to do it right now in this video. I'm going to spend 800k gold, and I'm going to bring her up to gear tier 14. And you know the reason why I'm doing this? Because in order for me to be able to continue to have fun in Marvel Strike Force, I can't just work on whatever the top meta is. I sometimes have to allow myself to do things like this and to enjoy my game, because Miss Marvel is one of my top 5 favorite Marvel characters ever, period, in Marvel. I'm not talking about Marvel Strike Force. I'm talking about Marvel, period, right? So for me personally, this is a passion project. You got to have some passion projects in this game. If you don't have any passion projects in this game, if you're just trying to work on chugging cycle of working on meta, you're going to get burned out. So do things like this. Allow yourself to have 1 or 2 passion projects that you can work on. One of your favorite characters that you love so much in Marvel, work on some of those characters in this game too, because that's going to give you, it's going to be some resources. You adjust for it. You adjust and you budget out the rest of your resources to make it fit for you. But in the meantime, enjoy a little bit so that you can just rejuvenate sometimes the fun back in the game for you. So this is my gift to myself. I feel pretty good about it right now. I'm not going to be honest with you. I love Miss Marvel. So I'm pretty excited about this right now, but that's the last thing I'm going to leave for you guys. Seriously, let me know if there's anything that you guys want to go over here that I have not covered in this video. Maybe there's some questions that you have about certain things. Like I said, I try to be a little bit more conceptualized as opposed to like being more direct. So I know there were some times I had to catch myself and say, don't say this, don't say that, because it might be confusing. It probably still was confusing anyway. Please just let me know, guys. I'm happy to help, man. This is the reason why I'm here. I know the beginner game can be a little bit grindy, so I'm here and happy to help if you guys have any questions for me, all right? But until next time, guys, I appreciate the heck out of you guys. Y'all be blessed. Y'all be safe. Also, have a Merry Christmas if I don't talk to you as well, guys. You guys are amazing. Peace. Oh man, yo, I'm so excited about my Miss Marvel.